What's up everybody, welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony, let's jump in. Okay, happy Wednesday everybody. We have discussed the ongoing lockdown situation in China's financial capital, Shanghai, for the last few videos. So let's just have a quick update about the situation in Shanghai, then look at other parts of the country before moving on to the other parts of this video. Case numbers continue to grow in Shanghai, with new officially recognized cases reaching 17,000 yesterday in Shanghai alone. With increasing case numbers, it seems unlikely that Shanghai will loosen its restrictions anytime soon. Like we said last week, Shanghai may follow Shenzhen's lead and only end lockdowns for those parts of the city that have no cases. On Monday, Shanghai tested 25 million or so of its residents in another round of mass testing, and more rounds of mass testing may well be on the way. Based on comments from Vice Premier Sun Chunlan, it looks like people who tested positive for their close contacts will soon be moved into medical facilities and quarantine centers. If this policy is maintained, it could mean hundreds of thousands in these facilities, which does sound difficult to achieve. Analysts of elite Chinese politics have pointed out too that the language differences in state media coverage of Vice Premier Sun Chunlan's inspections on the 2nd versus the 5th indicates central government displeasure with local authorities in Shanghai and greater central government oversight. On the 2nd, state media expressed that Sun Chunlan, quote, expressed views with responsible comrades, end quote, while on the 5th, it expresses that she was, quote unquote, guiding or directing the work of Shanghai. Now, this may sound like a small shift, but subtle language shifts like this does matter when we're talking about the language of leadership coming through state media. One positive development is, after much online criticism for separating children from parents, officials from Shanghai Children's Medical Center, serving at Shanghai's largest makeshift hospital, indicated that parents, regardless of whether they are positive for COVID-19 or not, can now stay with their infected children at makeshift hospitals. We remember that cases are being discovered in 26 other provinces and regions, not just in Shanghai. Indeed, the outbreak in Jilin province in the northeast affects a larger, less well-resourced population than Shanghai. There are 5 major cities in the province with restrictions in place. For example, the manufacturing city of Changchun, population 5 million, in the province has been locked down for 25 days so far. Nearly 5,000 medical personnel have been sent to assist in the province. On Sunday, Changchun authorities announced a 5-day period to stamp out infections. During these 5 days, which they are still in now, local officials aim to test every resident in the city's central districts 3 times. All confirmed cases and their close contacts will be transported to quarantine facilities. The restrictions across the province are not just affecting manufacturing, but food production too. Jilin province is home to 4.2 million hectares, 10.4 million acres, of cornfields. That accounts for 10% of the national total. Analysts predict that this production will be hit hard this year due to lockdowns, adding to food pressures already in place due to the war in Ukraine. Now, speaking of war, this week US lawmakers were warned by the US military establishment about PRC nuclear buildups. These are developments that we've been following since last year. The PRC continues the breathtaking expansion of its strategic and nuclear forces with opaque intentions as to their use. The recent test of an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM-launched hypersonic glide vehicle, HGV, with fractional orbital bombardment, FOB, is just one example of these growing capabilities. End quote. Meanwhile, the AUKUS alliance between the United States, the United Kingdom and Australia, which was announced last year, initially as a nuclear submarine technology sharing agreement between these 3 already very close Anglophone nations, is increasing in scope. US President Joe Biden said in a statement with Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison and UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson that the 3 allies will cooperate on the development of hypersonic weapons. Quote, we also committed today to commence new trilateral cooperation on hypersonics and counter-hypersonics and electric warfare capabilities, as well as to expand information sharing and to deepen cooperation on defense innovation. End quote. On this theme too, yesterday, Tuesday, Australia's Defence Minister announced that his country was spending 3.5 billion Australian dollars, approximately 2.6 billion US dollars, to accelerate the rearming of fighter jets and warships to quote-unquote increase deterrence. And the Defence Minister was not shy in explaining which country he had in mind with the spending either. There was a working assumption that an act of aggression by China towards Taiwan might take place in the 2040s. I think that timeline now has been dramatically compressed. End quote. Hey guys, as always, if you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that like button. It's a huge help for a small channel like this. And if you're watching for the first time and you're getting some value from this sort of content, I release one of these every day. If you want to be on top of the latest developments, hit subscribe and the bell notification next to it. And for anyone who wants to go the extra mile, my Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are below. Thank you everybody for your ongoing support of the channel. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's look at some key developments with the ongoing Evergrande or housing crisis in the People's Republic of China. One theme we have explored in depth with deep dive videos in recent weeks is the trend of local governments who have a strong financial incentive to see a strong property development sector undermining central government efforts to deleverage the over-bloated property sector. Local officials are looking for ways to replenish their depleted financing and fund projects to meet economic growth targets. We remember that land use sales are a huge source of revenue for many local governments. Land only sells when developers are building, and we know these land use sales have been smashed in recent months. We are seeing this trend continue into this week. According to a research note published on Monday by the China Index Academy, more than 60 municipal authorities started easing property restrictions in the first quarter of this year. Policy easing measures included lowering down payments, cheaper mortgage financing costs, and financial support for developers. Though the data isn't available, my bet would be that the support for these developers disproportionately favors local state-owned firms. It's not just small backwaters that are doing this too. Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post writes that Fuzhou, the capital of southern Fujian province, after seeing year-on-year home sales collapse in February, last week started allowing non-locals to buy new homes in the city without providing any proof of mandatory residency or pension fund as security, a departure from regulatory norms. And Quzhou in eastern Zhejiang province last week lifted restrictions, now allowing non-locals to buy a home in the city while also removing a 5-year holding period for resale. Then this week, Lanzhou, the capital of Gansu province, became the latest provincial capital to relax down payment requirements to boost the local real estate market. Many experts expect more cities to follow suit in the coming months. After Zhengzhou and Harbin issued large-scale loosening measures, we did not see any sign of official resistance, suggesting the central government was not opposed to them. We will see more cities, especially those with dormant home sales, follow in their footsteps. Meanwhile, we also have new research from Chinese financial media outlet Yicai looking at developer profits. According to this research, 28 out of the 30 major, defined by sales, property developers saw their gross profits decline in 2021. This is gross profit, not net profit. Indeed, most developers are not making any net profit. We'll have more on the Chinese housing crisis and the Chinese economy generally tomorrow. Hey guys, I'd love to hear what you thought about some of the updates we covered in today's episode, so throw your comments below. Always love hearing from you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.